Epilogue. The days before the wedding passed quickly. Much that had been puzzling was clarified as the four friends spent long hours talking, sometimes in quiet sorrow for things past or regretted, sometimes in exuberant and joyous laughter as they rehearsed the ways in which God had led them to this hour. The tragic death of Viktor at the hands of an Archon after Carla had half carried him out of the disintegrating auditorium and pleaded with him to accept Jesus was discussed with great sorrow. Carla's account of her surrender to the Lord and how he rescued her from the nine brought great joy. The diabolically clever metamorphosis of Sasso and the probable increasing persecution of the Messiah's followers in the near future as the New World Order was established was discussed with concern. The discovery by an FBI-led geological search team, following Ari's description of key landmarks, of the underground cavern honeycombing the mountain beneath the ruins of the research complex, thus corroborating Ari's story, laid to rest some of the nagging questions that had plagued them. For the rest, they must trust the one who had proven himself, as of old, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and whose promises would not fail. Still to come would be the hearing before a newly formed Senate committee, at which two surprise witnesses would appear. The first would be Dmitry Petrikov, on leave from his job at the psychiatric hospital in Tel Aviv and flown in from Israel. He would testify that he had known Viktor Korev intimately, that Viktor had indeed planned to defect in Paris, that Colonel Chernov had attempted to prevent it, and, upon his return from Paris, had arrested him, Dmitry, for not revealing his knowledge of Viktor's plans. It would be firmly established that Chernov was Korev's bitterest enemy, and that the idea that they could have been working together for the destruction of the CIA lab was preposterous. But the witness who would turn the tide was retired Red Army General Nikolai Gorky, former chairman of the Kremlin's committee overseeing psychic warfare research. Working as a taxi driver in Moscow, he would be located by Jordan on a tip from Dmitry. Gorky would testify that as Colonel Chernov's superior, he had sent him to bring Korev under arrest back to the Soviet Union and to destroy the secret CIA lab where Korev worked. The Senate committee would have no choice but to exonerate Carla from the previous charge that she and Korev had conspired to destroy the installation. That would still leave unanswered the question as to the cause of the astonishing destruction. Of course, it could not be attributed to the nine, whose existence was officially denied, and who, secretly, were still in contact with a number of very powerful leaders in Washington through Sasso. The latter, untarnished even by the new testimony, would remain a hero. His newly formed Shamans Unlimited would literally explode internationally, and its success motivation seminars would demonize increasing millions under the guise of leading them into personal empowerment. With the discovery of the cavern, the Mossad would be forced to admit the truthfulness of at least that much of Ari's testimony. That he was a follower of Jesus, however, and not yet an Israeli citizen, would bar him from a return to Israel. That land, a sanctuary for the chosen people flooding into it from around the world, was now closed to him because he was a believer in the most famous and influential Israeli who had ever lived. The contradiction was incomprehensible. After years of preparation, the nine had brought Ari to Israel to fulfill their own diabolical end, a purpose for which he'd been chosen by them at birth. But there was another who had his own plans and had turned evil into good. Looking back with gratitude now, Ari could see where, in spite of his own rebellion, God's hand had intervened repeatedly in his life and had patiently drawn him to himself. In that promised land, he had finally acknowledged himself to be a son of Israel and had become a son of God. There, too, he had met Miriam. Surely they had a destiny to fulfill together. On October 20th, Ari and Miriam, alias Marty and Sarah Berg, were married by Don Jordan in a quiet ceremony in the living room of the house in Boulder that had become their new sanctuary. In addition to Ken and Carla, there were three other guests, Dr. and Mrs. Pierre Duclos and little Ari Paul, now almost 5 years old. True to his word, David had located them in a Paris suburb, and they had made immediate arrangements to come. Shyly, the little boy had held his father's hand during the brief ceremony. It was agreed at the wedding that as soon as Ari's legal status was established, Pierre and Françoise Duclos would bring the child back to take his place as Ari's son. At the close of the ceremony, Jordan had read aloud a special wedding telegram sent through him by Yaakov. It said simply, "The Lord hear thee in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob defend thee. Send thee help from the sanctuary, and strengthen thee out of Zion. Now know I that the Lord saveth his anointed. He will hear him from his holy heaven with the saving strength of his right hand." Psalm 20, verses 1, 2, and 6. For Dave Hunt, I'm Barbara Romine.
For more information about the Berean Call and a free subscription to our monthly newsletter, contact us at P.O. Box 7019, Bend, Oregon, 97708. Call us at 800-937-6638 or visit our website at www.thebereancall.org.